Hello everybody. This is Suranjana from Suranjani Music Academy. Today we shall discuss the relationship between Indian classical music and music of Rabindra Nath Tagore. What is Indian music? From times immemorial, the Indian subcontinent has been home to various art forms. One of the most important art forms is, of course, music. It has three components: vocal, instrumental, and dance. From prehistoric times, we find that in Bhimbetka caves in Madhya Pradesh, the cave walls are covered with paintings of dancing figures and simple musical instruments. We are all familiar with the dancing figurine of Indus Valley civilization. In Samved and Rigved, we find rich materials about vocal music and instruments. In the Hathigumpha inscriptions of King Kharavela of Odisha, there is information about music practiced at the beginning of the Christian era. This is the time when King Kharavela ruled over Odisha. Our music is both sacred and secular. On one hand, it is the marga or path for salvation. This sacred music had a very close relationship with religion. On the other hand, we have secular music, which is cultured by the general masses of the country. Music sung by different tribes, by people of different regions, is of unimaginable beauty and variety, not to be found in any other part of the world. This is also called Desi music. There are references of music in Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Purans. Here we are presenting three pictures. First, a representation of Samved. The second picture is that of a monk making offerings to the sacred fire according to Vedic rites. And lastly, Nataraj dancing Shiva, who is the symbol of cosmic dance. Now we shall talk about rag. The concept of rag was first lucidly described or explained by Motongo Muni in his musical text Brihaddesi, said to be composed between 5th and 7th century AD. He has said, Ranjayati iti raga, that is, melody or combination of notes that lends pleasing colors to the mind. Rag evolved through ages and were named and classified in various ways. They were also visualized as Dhyanamurti. Now, what do we mean by the word Dhyanamurti? Dhyan means meditation and Murti means image. So, the image that manifests in the vision of the practitioner as he meditates on a particular rag is the Dhyan Murti of that rag. Here is a picture of Ragini Todi. This is a Ragmala painting. This class of painting evolved out of the concept of Dhyanamurti. In this picture depicting Ragini Todi, we see that, attracted by the beauty of the rag or ragini, deer have come out of the forest and have come very close to the young girl singing this ragini. Previously, rag and ragini were separate classes, but in present times there is no such distinction. The words rag and ragini have the same meaning. Here we are showing a reproduction of how a rag is described in modern times. This is a valuable contribution by Pandit Vishnu Narayan Bhatkhande. Birth of Hindustani classical music. When the Muslim rulers ascended the throne in Delhi, ancient Indian music began to get mixed up with Persian music that the Mohammedans brought with them. This was a slow process. It started from around 13th or 14th century AD. Hindustani classical music was thus born out of this fusion. The main musical forms of that age were Dhrupad, Dhamar, Khayal, Qawwali, etc. Toppa and Tumri came much later. Now we shall give a brief description of these forms. Dhrupad was originally Desi music. It was given a cohesive form by Raja Man Singh Tomar of Gwalior. He reigned there from 1486 to 1516 AD. The style of Dhrupad was majestic. Slowly, this style was elevated to the status of temple music. That is, music for the worship of temple deities. Now, when Muslim rulers occupied the northern part of India, they brought this temple music to the royal courts for their own entertainment. It became known as Darbari Dhrupad. Veena and Pakhavaj or Mridangam were accompanying instruments, though Veena was also played as a solo instrument. In the Mughal period, the glory of Darbari Dhrupad was at its zenith. Dhamar songs are set to Tal Dhamar. They are sung during the holy festival and describe Radha Krishna Leela. Khayal is a later entrant. Khayal is a Persian word meaning kalpana or imagination. Qawwali is a mixed class of songs usually sung in chorus. These songs have a very deep Sufi influence. When the English removed the last Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah Zafar, from the throne of Delhi, the court musicians lost their royal patronage. They were forced to look elsewhere for livelihood and preservation of their art forms. The court musicians had been facing these problems for a long period of time. Bahadur Shah Zafar ruled from 1837 to 1857 AD when he was dethroned by the English. He was then exiled to Burma, where he died in 1862. Here we are showing three pictures. The first picture is of Red Fort, Delhi. Here was situated the royal court. Mughal emperors used to listen to the music performed by court musicians for their pleasure inside this fort. The other center was at Agra. The second picture is of Akbar and Tansen. Tansen was born a Hindu but converted to Islam. Because of his great royal patron, Emperor Akbar, he became very famous. He composed a number of Drupad songs. He also created beautiful rags. And lastly, the portrait of the last Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah Zafar. With him, the Mughal Empire came to an end. Spread of Hindustani classical music. Here we shall talk about the spread of Hindustani classical music, a journey to the east. When the Mughal Empire started to crumble from about the middle of the 18th century AD, royal patronage began to diminish. Slowly, the royal musicians were losing their home and livelihood. Actually, the problem started from Aurangzeb's time, who ruled from 1658 to 707 AD. This was because Aurangzeb was against the culture of music in the royal court. Court musicians started to leave the royal courts at Delhi and Agra. Some sought refuge in the western part of India. Some migrated eastwards towards Bengal and ultimately reached their destination. So, many musicians from royal courts came to Bengal and were given shelter by the zamindars of undivided Bengal and rich music-loving families of Kolkata. Rabindra Nath Tagore was born into one such family at Jorashako, Kolkata. There were other families who came forward to help in rehabilitation of these royal musicians. Among these families were Tagores of Pathuria Ghata, Debs, Malliks, Pramanik, Seal, etc. We are showing two pictures. The upper one needs no introduction. It is the Jorashako Thakurbati at Chitpur. The other picture, that of an impressive colonnaded house, also situated in Chitpur, belonged to the Seal family. Harendranath Seal of this family was a great connoisseur of classical music and proverbially rich. He held big musical soirees in this house. Artists from all over the country came to perform here. Unfortunately, The family fell on hard times and lost possession of this ancestral property. Lohia Matrisadan, a hospital, is presently situated here. Drupad and Veena occupied exalted positions in the musical scenario of those days. Pakhawaj playing also had a large following. This foreign music flooded the Bengali psyche. They were not content only to listen, they made efforts to master these musical art forms. And this they did with spectacular success. Bishnupur Gharana. This is the only music gharana of Bengal. It started to develop from the last part of the 18th century AD under the royal patronage of the Malla kings of Bishnupur, who ruled there for a very long time. We are showing two pictures, one of a beautiful terracotta temple of Bishnupur. The other picture is that of Bir Hambir, the 49th king of the dynasty, a very powerful king. Bishnupur is situated in the western part of Bengal, therefore nearer to Delhi. There are interesting stories about the origin of this gharana. The criteria of a gharana cannot be discussed here. Though Dhrupad formed an important part of this gharana, we must understand that the word gharana is associated with khayal and not with Dhrupad. There are many gharanas in khayal singing, such as Gwalior Gharana, Agra Gharana, Kiran Gharana, Patiala Gharana, etc. On the other hand, Dhrupad has 4 vanis. 4 types actually, we may say. These are Gohar or Gabarhar Vani, Khandar Vani, Dagar Vani and Nauhar Vani. Along with Dhrupad, artists of the Bishnupur Gharana sang khayal and could play many musical instruments. A few stalwarts from the Bishnupur Gharana came to Kolkata and influenced the trend of music culture there to a great extent. Now we shall discuss Tagore's musical environment during his early years. Very briefly, Rabindra Nath Tagore, father of Rabindranath, invited many famed musicians to his palatial house at Jorashanko. He was a great lover of music, and regular sessions of classical music were held there under his patronage. The glory of Dhrupad music was then at its peak in Bengal. So naturally, from early childhood, young Robi was exposed to and greatly influenced by this majestic form of music, mainly from the Bishnupur Gharana. He was influenced by other styles too, because though many of the exponents were from Bishnupur Gharana, there were also performers from other parts of the country. Legendary Jodubhatto or Jodunath Bhattacharya was from the Bankura Bishnupur region, but after losing his music guru Ramshankar Bhattacharya at a tender age, he left Bishnupur, went to Bihar, and trained in Khandarwani, Dhrupad. And then we must talk about Rabindra Nath Tagore, elder brother of Rabindranath. He was 12 years older than Robi and was the main influence behind Tagore's blossoming as a musical genius. At one time, Jyotirindranath used to create new melodies every day while playing on his piano, at which he was extremely adept. He asked the young boy to sit beside him and put words on his string of newly created tunes. Tagore has himself said that this is how he learned to compose songs. Now, a brief discussion on Tagore's choice of rag. Here we must remember that though he never learnt classical music in a systematic way, he was able to internalize the true spirit of rag music. He used nearly 100 ragas throughout his life, but in his later years, the melodies were centered around about 20 ragas. One of his most favorite rag or ragini was Bhairavi. It is said that he was Siddha in Bhairavi. That is, this ragini appeared frequently before his eyes. He composed numerous songs based on this ragini. It has a very soft and delicate nature. He used other rags like Yaman, Yaman Kalyan, Kafi, Khamaj, Bhupali, Pilu, Behag, Vimpalashe, Malhar, Kannada, Desh, Multani, Puravi, etc. very frequently to set his lyrics to tune. He could visualize rag, which reminds us of Dhyanamukti of rag in old musical texts. Nobody could teach him. First, Vishnu Chakraborty, the pioneering singer of Adi Brahma Samaj, then Jodhuhatto, tried very hard to teach him, with no success. But he was very much aware of the musical waves swirling around him during his impressionable young years. These he stored in his highly sensitive mind, though in an unconscious manner. These melodies manifested themselves in his songs that he composed throughout his life. Interestingly, there is a lot of similarity between traditional visualizations of rag and the way Tagore perceived them. For example, traditionally, rag Multani is sung during the third prahar of the day. Rabindranath followed the same rule in his visualization of this rag. Each prahar is made up of 3 hours. So, the third prahar of the day would be the time just before the end of the day approaches. Tagore says something very similar. To put it simply, he says that Multani is a rag describing the mood of the approaching end of the day. He is feeling despondent because he feels that the day is coming to an end or is nearly gone, and he has not achieved anything worthwhile during the day. Here we are showing a Ragmala painting presenting Ragini Bhairavi. It depicts a damsel caressing her pet cow. Love, compassion, beauty, and softness are associated with this rag. Next is a photocopy of notation of Rabindra Sangit in the Akar Matric system. This system was designed by, again, Rabindra Nath Tagore. Therefore, his contribution is unforgettable in the field of preservation of Rabindra Sangit. Tagore songs based on rag. A few examples. The first three songs have been adapted from older compositions and set to the same rag and tal. The first song is Shunno Hate Phiri He Nath Pothe Pothe, set to rag Kafi and Shur Bhaktal. The original composition is by Jadu Bhatto and the words are Ruma Juma Barakhe Awe Badariya. It is to be noted that a Drupad song describing the monsoon season has been transformed into a song in praise of the Lord by Rabindranath. The next song is Amritero Sagore Ami Jabo Jabore in Rag Kamod and Tal Dhamar. His aspiration for the divine comes out clearly in this song. But the original lyric says, Main to n jaun sukhiri paniya bharanako. This is what Radha says in the song. She does not want to go to the river to fill up her kolush or water pot. Set to Gujjari Todi and Chautal is the song Prabhate Bimalo Anande Bikoshito Kushumo Gandhe Bihangamo Gito Chande Tomaro Abhasho Pai. The original composition starts with Nada Nagara Basai. Gujjari Todi is a melody of the morning, and the words of Tagore's composition perfectly match the sentiment of the rag. Here Tagore says that he can feel the presence of the divine in the joy that morning brings. The next three songs are original compositions of Rabindranath based on rag. The first song is Antaro Mamo Bikoshito Karo Antaro Taro He in Bhairavi. We have said that this rag or ragini has a soft and delicate nature and is one of the most favorite raginis of Tagore. In short, we can present Bhairavi like this. অন্তর মম বিকশিত কর অন্তর তর হে অন্তর মম বিকশিত কর অন্তর তর হে। The next song is based on Rag Yaman. The song starts with the words Kego Ontoro Toroshe. Yaman is a very attractive rag and is best demonstrated by the following combination of notes. Now let's compare this combination with Tagore's lyric. Ke go antaro taro she, ke go antaro taro she. One cannot miss the likeness between the two. Now the third and last song, a very famous song, Tomaro Oshime Pranomono Loe Joto Dure Ami Dhai, in Rag Behag. Behag can be presented in a compact manner like this. তোমারো অসীমে প্রাণ মন লয়ে যত দূরে আমি ধাই, তোমারো অসীমে প্রাণ মন লয়ে যত দূরে আমি ধাই। There can be no doubt that the song is based on Rag Behag. These similarities are simply unmistakable. Now, tal or rhythm. A variety of talas are used in our music. Tal is that which maintains the rhythm or pace of any piece of music. A tal is made up of matras. Each matra is a time measuring unit. Innumerable talas have been created through the ages based on use of different number of matras and various divisions and subdivisions. A variety of tal is used in Hindustani classical music. Tagore used mostly the simpler ones like teen tal, ek tal, jhap tal, chautal, dadra, kaharwa, etc. He also used tal from the Carnatic music system. For example, Patti tal was renamed by him as Shoshti tal. He set quite a few songs to this tal. He himself created a number of new tals. He named some of them and some have remained unnamed. Among the new creations that he named are Jhampak, Navotal, Ekadashi, Rupakra, etc. Now examples. Conventional tal with examples. In Dadra, a beautiful song of the rainy season, Badolo dinero prothomo kodomo phul korecho dan. In Kaharwa, a racy song, Ami marer sagor pari debo. Set to Teura, a song of surrender, Amar matha noto kore dao he tomar chorono dhular tole. In Chaptal, a song of introspection, Ontore jagicho, Ontoro jami. In Ektal, a Khyalango song, Aji pronomi tomare cholibo natho সংসারও কাজে. In Tintal, Mono jago mongolo loke. In Chautal, a Drupadango song, Shokti Rupo Herotar. Among the new tal, in Jhampak, Amare tumi oshesh korecho, Emoni lila tabo. Here, the poet is mystified by God's benevolence. In Rupakra, an outstanding song, Jibano Moroner, Shimana Chhadaye, Bondhu he amar, Roecho daraye. In Navotal, Nibido ghono adhare, Joliche ধ্রুবতারা, Monore mor pathare, হোসনে দিশেহারা. In Ekadashi, দুয়ারে দাও মোরে রাখিয়া নিত্য কল্যাণ কাজে হে. The last two songs are not commonly heard. From the Carnatic system, in Shoshti, আমার ঢালা গানের ধারা সেই তো তুমি পিয়েছিলে. Rabindra Nath Tagore was quite aware of the great tradition of Indian music which he inherited. He did not learn music in a methodical manner, that is true. But because of his prodigious musical talent and conducive family atmosphere, he was able to unveil the innermost core of this divine music. The inner truth of this cosmic music took form within his heart. He picked up all the most beautiful and sublime elements of Indian music and made a garland of songs for his creator. Rabindra Sangit is a great gift we have received. We must love, appreciate, and strive to learn more about this incomparable form of music. Thank you. If you have found the video interesting, please give the thumbs up. If you want to see similar videos in the future, please press the subscribe button. You will get a notification anytime a new video comes out. That is all I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed it and also hope to see you next time. Bye.